country. Bottom line is that white supremacy, racism, white nationalism, words that once held real meaning, have now become nothing more than election strategies. Every 4 years, the Black community is offered handouts and fear. Handouts and fear. Reparations and white nationalism. This is the Democrat preview.
Oh my goodness. They really thought this was going to be easy. They thought they could drag Candace Owens in there, slap a label on her, and watch her fold. But instead, she walked in calm, smiling, like she already knew the ending. And the second they started questioning her, you could feel it. Congress was about to lose control. If you're new here, consider subscribing, because what happened next was unreal.
When next time you come to Colorado, we'll take you shooting. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
Are you proud of your family?
I'm very proud of my family.
Okay. Let me ask you something. Do you hate Americans with black skin color?
Absolutely not. I actually love Americans with black skin color so much that I'm willing to fall on the sword 1,000 times for them to wake up and realize that we are being lied to, abused, and used by the Democrats.
How about Americans with white skin color? Do you hate them?
I do not, and that's a problem for people on the left.
Do you hate Hispanics?
I do not.
Do you hate Asians?
I do not.
Do you hate lesbians or gays or anybody from the LGBTQ community?
Nope, I've got all of that in my family.
I'm baffled because in the chairman's opening statement, he said that you openly associate with purveyors of hate.
Yes, purveyors of hate, by his definition, is anybody that supports the president. I support the president because he's done a tremendous job in helping the Black community, despite all of the rhetoric from the media and leftists, which do not want him to be successful.
Tell me a little bit about how the president has helped the Black community, if you would, please.
Well, he's lowered the Black unemployment rate. It's the lowest it's ever been in the history. He's getting us off of our feet. We see, I believe the last number I checked was 3.5 million people are off of food stamps, something that the Black caucus sat down and didn't applaud. Neither did any of the Democrats applaud, because they want a system where Blacks are dependent on the government. They are the people that put in place the policies that broke down the Black family, and the biggest problem that's facing our community is father absence. In every room that I've been in with the president, he talks about real issues, and he doesn't pander to us. He doesn't do Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's southern drawl accent and speaking to us like we're slaves. He asks us important questions, and the most important question he could have asked was, Black America, what do you have to lose? Because we were already losing under Democrat leadership.
Do you believe that you openly associate with purveyors of hate?
I absolutely do not. I have no tolerance for hate whatsoever.
Do you believe that college campuses should be open discussions, or there should be open discussions on college campuses for various issues? I
absolutely do. You know, I do a campus tour tonight. I'm flying up to the University of Connecticut to continue that, and we are being met with aggressive leftist groups. 3 Antifa chapters have declared they're going to try to shut it down, and we face this violence every day on the left, and nobody ever wants to talk about it.
And I guess what I was going to ask you, you went on to explain it before I got a chance to, but have you ever been disinvited from speech opportunities at college campuses because of your conservative views?
All the time.
Is that a form of hatred, do you think?
Of course it is, and we're not talking enough about political hatred in this country. We're not talking enough about conservative activists being attacked, like myself. We had a student whose dorm was set on fire for being a member of the Turning Point chapter, and all we preach is for free markets and capitalism as a means to lift the most people out of poverty. That is my belief, and of course, my main thesis is that Black people do not have to be Democrats, and we are not owned by the left, and I understand that causes some people trouble.
So, as a conservative, you've attended many conservative events and visited with many conservatives. And I am not denying for a moment that there are white supremacists and we should condemn white supremacists, that there are Nazis and we should condemn Nazis, that there are hateful groups all across the political spectrum and we should condemn those. But in your interactions with conservatives, have you seen hateful speech, bigotry, race among the conservatives that you've associated with?
I speak in front of conservatives probably 3 times a week. I jump on a stage and I say everything pro-Black, and they are so supportive and they applaud. All they want is for Black Americans to realize that they are Americans first and foremost. Conservatives are patriots. The president is a patriot, and I'm a patriot, and there is no skin color in patriotism.
Ms. Owens.
Mr. Chairman, ranking... There we go. Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Mr. Collins, thank you for having me here today. I received word on my way in that many of the journalists were confused as to why I was invited, and none of them knew that I myself was the victim of a hate crime when I was in high school. That's something that very few people know about me because the media and the journalists and the left are not interested in telling the truth about me because I don't fit the stereotype of what they like to see in black people. I'm a Democrat, I support the President of the United States, and I advocate for things that are actually affecting the black community. I'm honored to be here today in front of you all because the person sitting behind me is my 75-year-old grandfather. I've always considered myself to be my grandfather's child, and I mean to say that my sense of humor, my passion, and my work ethic all comes from the man that is sitting behind me. My grandfather grew up on a sharecropping farm in the segregated South. He grew up in an America where words like racism and white nationalism held real meaning under the Democrat Party's Jim Crow laws. My grandfather's first job was given to him at the age of 5 years old, and his job was to lay tobacco out to dry in an attic in the South. My grandfather has picked cotton, and he has also had experiences with a Democrat terrorist organization of that time, the Ku Klux Klan. They would regularly visit his home and they would shoot bullets into it. They had an issue with his father, my great-grandfather. During my formative years, I had the privilege of growing up in my grandfather's home. It's going to shock the committee, but not once, not in a single breath of a conversation did my grandfather tell me that I could not do something because of my skin color. Not once did my grandfather hold a gripe against the white man. I was simply never taught to view myself as a victim because of my heritage. I learned about faith in God, family, and hard work. Those were the only lessons of my childhood. There isn't a single adult today that in good conscience would make the argument that America is a more racist or a more white nationalist society than it was when my grandfather was growing up. And yet we're hearing these terms sent around today because what they want to say is that brown people need to be scared, which seems to be the narrative that we hear every 4 years right ahead of a presidential election. Here are some things we never hear. 75% of the black boys in California don't meet state reading standards. In inner cities like Baltimore, within 5 high schools and 1 middle school, not a single student was found to be proficient in math or reading in 2016. The single motherhood rate in the black community, which was at 23% in the 1960s when my grandfather was coming up, is at a staggering 74% today. I am guessing there will be no committee hearings about that. There are more black babies aborted than born alive in cities like New York, and you have Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo lighting up buildings to celebrate late-term abortions. I could go on and on, but my point is that white nationalism did not do any of those things that I just brought up. Democrat policies did. Let me be clear. The hearing today is not about white nationalism or hate crimes. It's about fear-mongering, power, and control. It's a preview of a Democrat 2020 election strategy, same as the Democrat 2016 election strategy. They blame Facebook, they blame Google, they blame Twitter. Really, they blame the birth of social media, which has disrupted their monopoly on minds. They called this hearing because they believe that if it wasn't for social media, voices like mine would never exist, that my movement Blexit, which is inspiring black Americans to leave the Democrat Party, would have never come about, and they certainly believe that Donald Trump would not be in office today. Looking on the next thing to focus on now that the Russian collusion hoax has fallen apart. What they won't tell you about the statistics and the rise of white nationalism is that they've simply changed the data set points by widening the definition of hate crimes and upping the number of reporting agencies that are able to report on them. What I mean to say is that they are manipulating statistics. The goal here is to scare blacks, Hispanics, gays, and Muslims into helping them censor dissenting opinions, ultimately into helping them regain control of our country's narrative, which they feel that they lost. They feel that President Donald Trump should not have beat Hillary. If they actually were concerned about white nationalism, they would be holding hearings on Antifa, a far-left, violent, white gang who determined one day in Philadelphia in August that I, a black woman, was not fit to sit in a restaurant. They chased me out, they yelled race traitor to a group of black and Hispanic police officers who formed a line to protect me from their ongoing assaults. They threw water at me, they threw eggs at me, and the leftist media remained silent on it. If they were serious about the rise of hate crimes, they may perhaps be examining themselves and the hate that they have drummed up in this country. Bottom line is that white supremacy, racism, white nationalism, words that once held real meaning, have now become nothing more than election strategies. Every 4 years, the Black community is offered handouts and fear. Handouts and fear. Reparations and white nationalism. This is the Democrat preview. Of course, society is not perfectible. We've heard testimony of that today. There are pockets of evil that exist, and those things are horrible, and they should be condemned. But I believe the legacy and the ancestry of Black Americans is being insulted every single day. I will not pretend to be a victim in this country, and I know that that makes many people on the left uncomfortable. I want to talk about real issues in Black America. I want to talk about real issues in this country and real concerns. The biggest scandal, this is my last sentence, in American politics is that Democrats have been conning minorities into the belief that we are perpetual victims, all but ensuring our failure. Racial division and class warfare are central to the Democrat Party platform. They need blacks to hate whites, the rich to hate the poor, and soon enough it'll be the tall.
I just have to say that I object strenuously to your use of the word hilarious. To me, this feels a lot like your reaction to being named in one of these manifestos. Now, you're of course not responsible for the words of somebody writing that document, but I do think that laughing at it is a real problem because these are real families that are impacted by this violence. And I think our efforts towards talking about this have to start from a place of mutual respect, which is what I've heard from this side of the table. Now, the reason we don't have those numbers, I want those numbers as much as you do, but to say the numbers don't show something is simply not supported by the data.
Okay, and I have 38 seconds left, Ms. Mulligan, if you want to respond within that time.
The only thing I would add is that it's in the name. Terrorism, domestic terrorism, it terrorizes us. It terrorizes us in our homes. It terrorizes us in our schools. And to the points made by the other panelists, it is disproportionate to its impact on any individual life, and it's not.
You reject the idea it's something that doesn't matter or doesn't really matter?
Absolutely reject.
Okay. All right, so here's where we are. Every member now has had 5 minutes and... I'll go ahead and claim my 5 minutes. Okay, and Mr. Clay, so we have 2 members who have not. So I'm going to go to the 2 members who have not yet, and we'll give an opportunity for a closing thought to any member who wants before we go.
Am I next to respond, or is Mr. Meadows?
I thought Mr. Meadows was
Mr.
next.
Meadows, okay.
Mr. Meadows is next, then Mr. Clay, then to you, Mr. Jordan.
Ms. Owens, obviously this is a gang up on you. You know, we're giving these witnesses the ability to do a rebuttal on you, and so you know, I find it unfair, Ms. Ballou. I mean, you know, candidly, for you to show mutual respect and then you to go after Ms. Owens, it's not appropriate. So, Ms. Owens, you can have 4 minutes and 34 seconds to respond. However,
yield for a second.
I'll yield to.
Thank you. I believe, Ms. Owens, when you used the word hilarious, it was referencing the fact that no one had asked you a question. It wasn't to the subject matter of the hearing. Is that right?
That is correct.
And to have another witness insinuate something that is not accurate is just not appropriate, Mr. Chairman, for how witnesses are supposed to behave in front of this committee. I also think you didn't say it doesn't matter about the subject matter of today's hearing. You said there are other subjects that matter as well, and maybe we should spend some time on those. Is that accurate?
That is correct, and they matter much, 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 much more, and I have said that. I said that in my opening, and I will say it again. You know that white supremacy and white nationalism is ranks nowhere near the top of the issues that are facing Black America. And the reason that you are bringing them up in this room is because it is an attempt to make the election all about race, as the Democrats
Not in my case, Ms. Owens. I'm sorry. Please do not characterize my motive.
Mr. Chairman, it's my time.
Yeah,
it's my time.
You've got your time, Mr. Meadows. I'll give you 3 more seconds.
Let me tell you, this hearing wasn't just tense. It was a full-on political roast session waiting to happen. Candace Owens sat there while Democrats lined up with their favorite little trick, the gotcha questions. Are you conservative? Yes. Are you pro-life? Yes. Are you a Christian? Yes. And you could almost hear the Democrats gasping like somebody just told them Chick-fil-A was catering the room. They were expecting her to hesitate, to soften it, to apologize. Candace didn't blink. Then it got even funnier. One of them asks, "Do you own a gun?" Candace says no, and the guy goes, "Next time you come to Colorado, we'll take you shooting." Like, sir, this is Congress, not a weekend barbecue. But then came the real moment. They tried to corner her with the ugliest accusation. Are you hate Americans with black skin color? Candace looked them dead in the face and said absolutely not. She said she loves black Americans so much she'd fall on the sword 1,000 times just to wake people up to the lies. And you could see it right there. They weren't ready for that. So they tried again. Do you hate white people? No. Do you hate Hispanics? No. Do you hate Asians? No. Do you hate gay people? No. At this point, the Democrats looked completely confused because their entire narrative depends on Candace being the villain. Then the chairman drops the big line. You openly associate with purveyors of hate. Candace just smiles. That smile that says, bless your heart, you really thought that was going to work? And then she hits them with the truth bomb. By your definition, anyone who supports the president is a purveyor of hate. Boom! The room froze. Democrats' faces looked like somebody unplugged their talking points mid-sentence. And then she went even harder. She starts listing what Trump did for black Americans. Black unemployment at the lowest in history, millions off food stamps, families getting back on their feet. And Candace points out the most brutal part. Democrats sat there stone-faced, couldn't even clap, because progress doesn't count if the wrong president did it. That one burned. Then she goes straight for the jugular. She says Democrat policies helped break down the black family, that father absence is one of the biggest crises, and the left created the system that keeps people dependent. You could see lawmakers shifting in their seats. No comebacks, no laughs, just discomfort. Then she takes aim at college campuses. She says conservatives get disinvited constantly, threats from Antifa, a Turning Point student dorm even being set on fire. And here's the crazy part. Candace says it all with a grin. That's how you know she wasn't scared. She wasn't there to survive the hearing. She was there to expose it. And then she drops the line that shook the whole room. Conservatives are patriots. The president is a patriot, and there is no skin color in patriotism. That's not just a closing statement. That's a mic drop. Even some Democrats couldn't hide the embarrassment. They wanted a spectacle, and Candace gave them one. Only problem is, they were the ones who got burned. Quick like, subscribe, comment, and share if you're tired of the double standards in Washington. Candace Owens didn't just defend herself, she roasted the entire narrative right in Congress.